Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first press conference of the Grande Rentrée. It'll be, unfortunately, a very short press conference because the President will meet President Poroshenko in only about 20 minutes, so we'll have to speed up, I'm afraid. I give the floor to President Martin SCHULZ.
Ja, vielen Dank, meine.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. From my side, welcome back after the summer break. On behalf of the European Parliament, I spoke to the European Council, meeting heads of state and government, setting out to them the position of the European Parliament on the main items on the European Council's agenda today. There are 3 points that I would like to talk to you about here. The first is Ukraine. As Mr. Martin said, in a few minutes I'll be meeting with President Poroshenko. President Poroshenko of the European Council just now set out the position of his government and his government's assessment of the situation. Then there was an exchange of views. Briefly, questions from some heads of government were put to him. On behalf of the European Parliament, I stated that our expectation is that the European Union should do everything to ensure that Ukraine's territorial integrity is guaranteed, and of course as part of that, given the clear presence of regular soldiers of the Russian Federation on the territory of Ukraine, it means sanctions need to be stepped up, be made deeper and stronger in such a way that Russia is actually affected by those sanctions, making it clear that that country will suffer serious economic consequences if it doesn't change its policy vis-à-vis Ukraine. But I had to make it clear to everybody, too, that economic and financial sanctions against Russia can have, in turn, adverse effect on the European Union. And therefore, to begin with, we need to make it clear to everybody that these sanctions are necessary. However, they won't be without consequences also for the European Union itself and its member states. I feel it's very important. We need to prepare our fellow citizens for this. If there are to be such sanctions, and they are really necessary, and they have to be hard, it's going to have an effect on us too. Secondly, regards the crisis in Iraq and the crisis in the Middle East, I made it clear on behalf of the European Parliament that the European Union is in this world the biggest donor in terms of humanitarian aid, and they really need our aid, and we need to increase it, especially given the refugee problem in Syria, in Iraq, and also in Palestine and the Gaza Strip. In the previous year in the European Parliament, we have made the point, I've done it before you in this room, to the press, that the midterm finance planning of the European Union doesn't contain enough money to cover those needs. And I made the point that in 2013 already the humanitarian aid is in a deficit in the European budget, so we need money to be made available from member states for the European budget so that the EU can honour its humanitarian commitments. There's no point at all in our promising aid and not being able then to organise it because we're short of the money to do that. Thirdly, at today's Council, alongside discussions with and about Ukraine and the crisis in Syria, Iraq and the Middle East, there will be a discussion of who is going to be given the new posts, and obviously it's up to the Commission and the European Council to decide on this, but the Commission has to give its agreement, and we took note of the fact that it seems that Mrs. Mogherini has a lot of backing for the position of High Representative. Well, the good news there is that she's a woman, because as far as we're aware at present, looking at who's been nominated for the Commission, there are few women nominated for the new Commission and the old Commission. In the old Commission, and Barroso too, there have been 9 women. That's 19 to 9. And as far as we're aware, in the next commission, on the basis of the current nominations, there'd only be 5. So that's 23 to 5 instead of 19 to 9. Now, in a body which is working on adopting and putting forward directives obliging major corporations in Europe to have a larger representation of women on their boards. So I'd like to make this point very clearly here. And I've discussed this with the heads of the political groups in the European Parliament before I came here. A commission where there are actually far fewer women than in the old commission is a commission that will not enjoy majority support in the European Parliament. So that's a point we need to make very, very clear. If there's significantly fewer women in the next commission, that is inconceivable for the European Parliament. And none of the major European Parliament political groups would give its backing to such a commission. I've told Jean-Claude Juncker that already, and Jean-Claude Juncker, after I made the point of in Council, took the point up himself and endorsed that himself and made an appeal to the heads of state and government. Please put forward female names, because otherwise this commission, as currently proposed, will not get through the European Parliament. That's certainly how I estimate the situation.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're ready to take your questions, if there are any. Yes, please. If you would be so kind as to present yourself.
Jarno Hartikainen, Finnish Business Daily, Kauppalehti. Regarding the number of women in the next commission, are there certain countries that you hope that would put up female candidates as commissioners? Thank you.
Very difficult for me to identify one or another country. I hope that there are more countries prepared to propose women as candidates. In the Council, my feeling is everybody agrees. If you look around the table, every Prime Minister and President says, yeah, you are right. And is then looking to the neighbor, thinking he should suggest a woman, or she should suggest a woman. So it's a little bit that everybody is looking to his neighbor, but nothing happens. And therefore, once more, I can't identify one or another country, but we need more women.
David Carretta, Radio Radicale. Monsieur le Président, 2 questions.
2 questions, President. One as President of the Parliament. Mr. Van Rompuy wasn't very attentive to the Parliament, didn't come to Strasbourg very often, hardly ever prior to meetings of the European Council. Are you looking forward to a more constructive approach from his successor as of December? And then a more political question. You're a leader of the European Socialist Party. The European Popular Party is very likely to have 3 of the top positions certainly for 2.5 years. Now, there aren't many socialist commissioners. It's not the same balance as we have in the Parliament. What's your take on this? Now, how about the approval of the Juncker Commission? Is there going to be a problem for the socialists to accept that?
Pour répondre à votre première question.
Well, in answer to your first question, personally, as far as I'm concerned, I've worked together with Herman Van Rompuy over the last 5 years. It's been very constructive in the various posts I've had as President of the Socialist Group or as President of the European Parliament. No reason for any complaint about Herman Van Rompuy. Together with Jerzy Buzek, Herman Van Rompuy, in fact, introduced the conference, the open conference with the President of the European Parliament. That was a new measure to make sure that after each European Council, you didn't have to have a plenary where there's meant to be a report by the President of the Parliament. The idea was to introduce a novelty that wasn't in the treaty, so that Herman Van Rompuy spoke to the MEPs and they could give their assessment of the Council. So I think Herman Van Rompuy, from my point of view, did what he considered to be necessary in relations with the Parliament. I have no further comment on that. Now, the successor, male or female, of Herman Van Rompuy, I'm always prepared to discuss how we can improve things, but I have every respect for the work of my colleague, Herman Van Rompuy. With the greatest respect, I'm here to represent the European Parliament, not just one group in the European Parliament. So the president of the Socialist Group is one of your compatriots, and you know him well. So I suggest that you ask him the question you put to me.
Dave Keating from European Voice. On the subject of female commissioners, is there any outcome today on the top jobs that would alleviate concern over the fact that there are so few female nominees? For instance, if there was a female president and a female high representative, would that sway MEPs?
The female high representative is already a step forward because it is a member of the Commission. Other posts today are not belonging to the Commission. So the question that the Commission should have a higher number of female members has nothing to do with the other jobs. So we must make a clear distinction. I understand the sense of your question. So a female president of the Council is not a compensation for this lack of female participation in the Commission. No, this is for sure not enough.
Gentleman just behind, please.
Hello, James Chris from Euractiv. Mr. Van Rompuy was overheard on an open microphone earlier today confirming that Donald Tusk would be the next Council President. I was wondering, would you welcome the appointment of Mr. Tusk? What are your thoughts about him?
I'm a little bit surprised. I was not present when this microphone was open, and the capacity of Herman Van Rompuy to predict the outcome of debates and negotiations still ahead was unknown to me until today. If he is so, if he has a deeper knowledge about the future, I will consult him more often. But my feeling is that the heads of states and government try to find always a consensus in that regard. And who will be the next president of the European Council is, first of all, not an item of the European Parliament. We should respect that the heads of states and governments amongst themselves decide and discuss. There are 28 candidates. It is a little bit like a conclave in Rome. You know this eternal rule. You enter the room as Pope and you leave the room as Cardinal. And so I don't know if Donald Tusk will be the next president of the European Council. If he will be, I remember that Donald Tusk led twice with success pro-European election campaigns against very Eurosceptic parties in his country. I know him personally very well, and I used to cooperate with him also during the Polish presidency in a very, very constructive and friendly way, which is perhaps not so often the case. I have beside our institutional responsibilities, a very good private relationship with Donald Tusk. My wife is born in Poland, belonging to the German minority in that country. And Donald Tusk, who is from Danzig, knows from his family side how it is to have German ancestors in Poland. So we had a lot of things to discuss from a private point of view. And I like him very much, privately. Politically, I think he made some errors in his life, especially joining his party, and not to make the same choice I made for my life, but okay, shows that even important people are not free from errors. And if he will become president of the council, he is for sure decent representatives. But there are other candidates, and I'm not so sure that Herman van Rompuy's prediction is already a reality.
Thank you. We can take two more.
Thank you. It's Marco Zatterin, La Stampa. Good evening, President. There is the economy paragraph in the new draft of the Council, which is going around. There will be a new summit called for from Italy and France on the 7th of October. Now, it seems that the European Union finally understands that they got to do something about growth and investment. And, I mean, are you happy that there are new summits coming? And what's your advice to the European leaders? What do you expect from them for growth, jobs and investments? Thank you.
I discussed already in the morning, together with Matteo Renzi and some others, the need of deepening the engagement of the European Union institutionally and the member states for more growth. The Stability and Growth Pact is called Stability and Growth Pact, and I think there is an increasing number of responsibles on the national and the European level understanding that stability will never become sustainable without growth. And to invest in growth, Juncker suggested a 300 billion investment program that must made practical and transformed in practical actions. And that's the goal of this extraordinary summit. And I think it is not Europe. Your formulation, Marco, was that Europe is understanding now. I think some Europeans understand now more than in previous times that investment and a strategy for growth and employment is vital for the stability of the European Union.
Thank you. Thank you. President George for his Hungarian press. I would like to come back to the gender equality issue, because I just don't see in practical terms what could happen. I mean, let's take the worst scenario. There are just a few women, so the European Parliament refuses it. And so what? What will happen? Who will tell that which country should change the mind? And what will be the argument that especially they should do it?
Everybody has his responsibilities. The heads of states and government decide about their proposals. And if they decide in such an overwhelming majority to suggest only men, then their own goal to increase on all levels in the European Union the participation of women. A goal of the European Parliament, by the way, across all different political tendencies, to increase our participation of women and, for example, to overcome the gender pay gap, to come to equality, real equality in the European Union, which is really a goal across different political tendencies, would be absolutely not credible with a Commission responsible to apply the rules we just defined, and the Commission itself has a lower number of female members than the outgoing Commission. This is, I think, a responsibility of the Council as a European organ and all the individual members of the Council to avoid that such a lack of credibility will happen. And the European Parliament was very strong. And I must repeat here, Jean-Claude Juncker as well, because Juncker is the man who has to present the Commission, and he made the same appeal we made: take your responsibility. I know that it is very difficult, but I can only repeat what I said at the beginning. Real danger is there if there is a lower number of women in the proposal of Juncker than in the Barroso Commission. Then there is a high risk that there is no majority in the Parliament.
Thank you very much for your interest and good night. Martin, wir machen noch ganz kurz und für EBS. Hallo. Hallo.